Hello and welcome to another video. This video actually I wasn't intending to do this week. I've got all intentions of doing something else, but if anybody's been watching my videos over the last few weeks, where perhaps a couple of weeks ago, I did a couple of videos up at a place called Airfield, and I've come up here again today. I think the process of spending all that time trying to get pictures of red kites and find where the red kites were most active at, obviously meant I had to spend a lot of time up here, and while I've been up here I've also noticed other birds and animals up here, so I thought, you know, rather than just make this about red kites, and I'm up here again today, if I see some red kites I will take some pictures because we've got mainly a lovely blue sky. But I also thought I'll see if there's anything else around. I know we've got a lot of skylarks up here I've seen, so if I can get some images of those, that'd be great. Obviously buzzards, one or two other little birds. There's the woodland round the edge of the airfield as well that I haven't fully explored. And I've actually just taken a picture here on these bales of a pied wagtail. Really came up close, so I don't know. Potentially there might be a nest site in here somewhere, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just sort of looked up and it was staring at me about 2 meters away, so I've got a couple of images of that. But yeah, I'm just going to have a wander around the airfield today and just really explore it a little bit more to see what else we've got up here, because it seems a shame just to make it about red kites. But as I say, I've got my big tripod here so that if I want to do any filming, obviously I can do that. I've got a nice firm base. I've also bought my old fold up, I suppose it's a seat for sitting on the floor. I think I got it it must be 10 years ago from a place called Wildlife Watching Supplies. I'm not sponsored by them, it's just something that I do use. I'm actually getting ready for a new one actually. It's lasted fairly well though, but it's nice and light to carry with you, that's the thing. I often put other stuff inside as well. You know, if I need to carry some other bits and bobs, I can stick them inside the seat section and use it as a bit of a bag if I'm trying to travel really light. But yeah, I'm up on the airfield now, as you can see, and in amongst where these bales are, where he's storing the beet actually. I think there's some ravens up here as well. I think I heard one of those the other day as well. So, and I don't know whether you can see that. You probably can't see it on this. There's a bird of prey just gone off in that direction, I think, being pursued by a crow. So it could be a really good afternoon. Whatever, I'm just gonna probably chill out a bit and just see what images I get really. But yeah, I've noticed there's been really quite a lot of bird life up here, so as well as the normal partridges and pheasants, yeah, there's been one or two other things, so I thought it'd be worthwhile just coming up and doing a video from here. So anyway, I'll catch you later. One of the things I have made a mess of today is clothing choice. It's simply because every time I've come up here recently, even if it's been sunny, it's been really cold on the airfield here. So I mean, this is, you know, quite a high position. There's not a lot to sort of shield it from the wind, and it does tend to blow across here, and because we're only in April, you can get some really vicious winds coming in, and that's what it's been like. Yeah, there's nobody out today at all. It's really quiet, which is just how I like it. So I'm not seeing any skylarks at the minute, but who knows? We'll keep his eyes open and see what turns up. What's that? I may have to put it down in a minute. I can just explain. Ahead of me there's some bits of concrete that block one of the old runways here that obviously the farmers put in or something to stop people going down there. And people have stacked rocks upon there. You know how you sometimes get these little cairns that build up, and there's a little bird that keeps jumping up on top of them. Can't see what it is. Just let me put you down a second. I apologise for dropping you like that. this is what wildlife photography is all about, honestly. Never expected to see that up here. Some people might go, well, that's quite common where you live, but I've never seen one of these down here before at all. And that's a wheat ear. Literally, it seems to have taken up those rocks, and I'll show you in a minute where it's been perching. You'll see them on the shots I've taken anyway. I've tried to take a little bit of video as well. It's hopping on the rocks and off the rocks, and then going to feed and then jumping back on the rocks. Absolutely fantastic. I think I got some really cracking images of it there. So one of the reasons I actually always, when I'm doing wildlife photography, I've got a bag with me. I tend not to have any of the straps fastened, because a lot of the time what I want to do is to be able to slip it off, and then I might be crawling somewhere and taking some images. So I don't want to be fastened, or sort of messing around with fastenings and things, especially if I'm trying to be quiet. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Whew. It's a hot one, but worth it. Believe it or not, I'm actually filming this wheat here now. It's got a very defined pattern. It just keeps hopping off these little stacks of rocks and then back on, and looking round, and you can see all the muck on there. It's obviously been doing that for quite a while. This must be its territory. It's really brilliant. If this is all I get today, then it's been absolutely fantastic. Got some wonderful footage, I think. So yeah, I'm really, really happy. And I'm probably about 8 to 9 meters away from these rocks. And yeah, just by sort of gradually getting closer and working out what its tolerance level is, really. A lot of animals and birds, I think I've mentioned before, they have certain areas where they'll allow you to get to a certain distance and then they'll be away, and that can change as well if they're defending a territory or whatever, or they've got other stuff going on. But this one seems to be really happy for me to be really close. So while I'm speaking to you now, I'll probably be playing some of this footage that I've got. It's absolutely wonderful light, and what a cracking little bird this is. To watch them close up, and the colours and that beautiful black mask around the eyes, absolutely wonderful. Really, really great. I was hoping to get some red kites again today, but to be honest, I'm not particularly bothered now. It's amazing, when you get something like this unexpected, yeah, what it does for your mood, really. Yeah, really brilliant. So I'll catch up with you again in a bit, and we'll see what else we can find. Right, I've come to the place where I generally watch the red kites. It's a little bit quiet at the minute, lovely blue sky, so if I do get them coming out, it's going to be fantastic. But I wanted to show you something else. I brought Mel up here about a week ago because she'd never seen the red kites either, and I'll show you where we sat, but I want to be quiet. This is where I sat before. I've actually moved about 20 yards further away, and I'll tell you why in a minute. That's why I'm whispering as well. So I was set up here, and I've set this up so I've got the sticks in here so I could put my scrim netting on and get underneath it, because one of the plans I had was if I found any roadkill pheasants, which there are always quite a few around here, I was going to potentially put it down in this field and throw the scrim netting over, and then just wait and see if the red kites or buzzards came down. Seemed like a good idea at the time. I'm still considering it, but I just want to show you why I've had to move. So it'll necessitate me putting this action camera onto this large stick down here, and then I'll lift you up so you can see. Right, so the story of that is I was, when I brought Mel up to see if we could see these red kites, I just looked behind me where we were set up on there, and I could see all these feathers on top of these bales, and I thought something's been killed up there. I thought perhaps one of the buzzards had something and taken it up there, so I thought I'll go and have a look. So I spent 5 minutes trying to climb onto these bales, and Mel thought it was hilarious trying to see me climb up. Anyway, I managed to haul myself up and just pop my head up and turned to my right to have a look what was there, and only to see a grey lag goose staring back at me. she's actually made a nest up there. So I made a beat a hasty retreat and decided that we're probably a little bit too close there, so I've come another 20 yards further away so that we don't disturb her. I've actually seen a partner flying in from, it's probably about a mile away from here. There's a lake where the old estate house used to be before it burned down, and I've seen that grey-lag goose on there. So I'm not sure whether that's usual or not, but obviously the youngsters will have to travel about a mile to get to water. I do hope she pheasant, sorry, I do hope she survives up there. The other issue that I've noticed is the farmer. Now these bales behind me have stood there for years. They've not, well, I can't recall any of them ever moving, and then all of a sudden this year he started taking them. And I don't know whether I mentioned, I think I did in the last video, I think there's some kestrels nesting. Well, he's taken all the straw apart from the middle section where the kestrels are. I think they're still there. I'm trying to get a hold of the farmer just to make him aware, because obviously, you know, maybe he is aware, but more than likely he's not aware that they're there. And you know, unless he knows, then it'll be an accidental destruction of that nest site. So yeah, that could be quite unfortunate. But so far I've not managed to see him when he's been removing the bales. But the kestrels are definitely still there at the minute. The other bit of news I've got is that, excitedly for me, last week I actually found a red kite nest. So obviously I'm not going to reveal where that is up here, but I found basically, I think it's an old buzzard's nest potentially, but with a red kite tail sticking out the back of it. And yes, very definitely nesting up here. So fingers crossed that survives and we get some red kite chicks up here, which would be absolutely fantastic. I'm going to wait around here for a bit longer, see if anything else comes up here, and then probably move on to somewhere else. Of course, getting any footage of the red kites is going to be quite difficult now at the minute, if you think about it. I know one of them's on a nest. I'm not sure whether originally we had 4 that we saw up here. So if 2 of them are on nests, that means there's only going to be 2 in the sky. If a pair of them's moved on somewhere else, we're only going to get 1 in the sky. So, you know, the chances of actually seeing them are diminished somewhat at this time of year. Conversely, you know, month, 6 weeks time, when the youngsters are being fed or fledging the nest, potentially we could have a lot more. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I just saw this lovely blue sky and I thought that would look great, some footage with a red kite with that lovely blue sky behind. So I'm gonna give it a go for a while longer. I think that's a kestrel sat on top of that straw over there watching me. And if nothing turns up, we'll have a go at something else a little bit later. Right, so I actually missed getting any film of that kestrel then, because I was set up to try and get video of these red kites. The setup for the kestrel was quite different, and I had to try and move the tripod. I think if you try and film handheld, it always comes out too jerky, especially when you've got what is equivalent to a 900mm lens on here. So I had to move it, and all the settings are different as well. So when I'm shooting up into the sky, I've got exposure compensation dialed in, because if not, the bird will always appear quite dark. But obviously this kestrel had got trees behind it and bushes, so I needed to get that exposure compensation back down to 0, and by the time I'd done all that it had flown off. But I've actually switched the camera around to pointing directly at that those old bales of straw now, because I presume that's where he'll perch before he goes into the nest with prey or comes out. So I've seen him there once before, and today makes twice, so I'm hoping that he comes back and lands on there, but he probably won't. And probably what will happen is that the red kite's only now appear in this direction, and again I'm completely got all the wrong settings, the tripod's in the wrong position. So yeah, the joys of wildlife photography, but you know, we like a challenge. I'm just filming a lovely little French partridge that's actually appeared on bales to the right of where the kestrel was. I heard something making a noise earlier, and yeah, there's a French partridge just appeared on top of the bales, so I'm doing a little bit of filming of that as I'm talking to you. He seems quite settled. Still no sign of the kestrel or the red kite behind me, so I'll give it a little bit longer. It's really hot here today. The wind's completely died, and the sun's a little bit hazy, but not too much haze in the sky at all. So yeah, it's a really warm one. But there's just so much going on here. If you sit and just don't really move anywhere, it's amazing what you can see. And what funny, one of the things I find is when I'm out with somebody who's not a wildlife photographer is the way that they can walk around and not see anything. I don't know, it just seems to be when you're a wildlife photographer, you're attuned to seeing things that other people just walk blindly by. You're just looking for things all the time. I suppose it's something that develops over time as well. One of the things I did want to do this year was more of, obviously because you know I do landscape photography as well, I'd really like to get some more wide shots with dramatic landscapes and the animal in the landscape. That might be able to become more of a reality now lockdown's easing and we can move around the country again. But yeah, really just showing the animal in the landscape, but also having a dramatic landscape image as well. So that's something I'm hoping to do later this year and as the year progresses, because I think they can often have more impact than just a photograph, a straight portrait of an animal, you know, that doesn't really tell you anything. You get some nice detail, but you've got no idea of its environment or anything. So hopefully I can develop that through the year, but we'll see how we go. As I say, that partridge is still there. Probably wondering what I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a little bit longer with this kestrel and these red kites, and then yeah, I'll move on. Might even call it a day. I think as regards skylarks, I'll probably do a whole video on that, because there are a lot down the centre there, so it's probably one of those things where I can set up and sit there for most of the day and get footage and hopefully some stills as well. So, and my partridges are gone. Where's he gone? I'll catch you in a bit. This is absolutely crazy. I've just been watching for this kestrel, as you know, and that's beyond this huge pile of bales that I said that the farmer had been removing. While I've been sat here, I've just seen a head pop up, and it looks like there's another grey-lag goose nesting on top of there. I've never seen anything like it. I'm surrounded by geese nesting in inappropriate places. I'm not sure whether the farmer's seen this. I've not seen him take any bales for a couple of days, so I'm wondering whether he's seen that they're there and he's stopped what he's doing until they've gone. I hope so. But how bizarre is that? Yeah, I'm filming this now so you can see. Really strange. Well, what hasn't today had really? I'm literally just about to pack up and either move on or make my way back home. And where the kestrel landed, I was just taking one last look through and saw this column of dust, and we'd actually got a twister moving up the pathway, one of the old runways. I hope I've got some footage of it. It alternated between very small on the field and then quite large. I think I caught a bit of the footage where it was about 2 meters across the base for a couple of seconds, but yeah, that was really weird. It's a while since I've seen one of those. We did once have one, probably about 20 years ago, behind our house, and I always remember that for about half an hour after, we were getting these little bits of straw dropping down onto the garden because it had picked them up and taken them so far up into the sky. This was nowhere near that size, but yeah, a little bit of a twister going on behind where the kestrels are there. So yeah, It's certainly been an interesting afternoon. As I say, I'm going to pack up now and probably move on elsewhere, or make my way back home. So I'll catch you in a minute. Right, I think I'm going to call it a day for this week, on this week's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have recorded it this week. Really nice to sort of follow up on some things that I'd noticed while I was doing the red kites. And I haven't actually seen the red kites today. I have just had an encounter with a buzzard. I was just packing up again and just switching the camera, because I always do, because generally I'm taking stills, so I took all the settings off video and I was just sort of getting all my stuff in my bag behind these bales, and I saw this buzzard coming over the trees and managed to get the camera up and over the top of a bale, and he didn't see me till the last second, so I sort of got a very surprised buzzard with its wings out making a U-turn. That almost filled the viewfinder, so that makes quite a nice image. So I'll put that on this video at the end, as well as the images of the wheat here and one or two other things that I've taken up here today. As I say, I think that there's potential to do a video on skylarks up here, because there are quite a lot, and I will try and get hold of the farmer to just make him aware of what nests he's got on there, because that's at least 3 now in that area. So, and obviously there's potential for the kestrels. I'm just walking past where that one landed on that bale. It's so, as a photographer, I really want to try and get some images, but it's so difficult to get into a position where I'm not going to disturb them, but I'm in a position to get some images, if you like, because where they've nested, that looks out onto an open field, and there's just nowhere for any cover. I can potentially get down the side, but unfortunately down the side is actually on that bale where the male kestrel was perched today. So if that's there, his perch for sort of when he comes out of the nest site and when he goes back in, I don't really want to be down the side of that anywhere, so it's quite difficult. I'll have to try and think of something for that one. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll stick the images up at the end. The wheat here made it for me. Absolutely loved getting that and the footage. I'll see you next week for another one. As always, if you've not subscribed to the channel, then please think about subscribing. Please give us a thumbs up on this video if you've enjoyed it and enjoyed the images and footage. I'll see you next week. Bye.